Good job.
Check, check. Testing.
I'm the best.
1, 2. Can you hear
That
me?
is right.
That's awesome. Are you?
I'm talking into the microphone. Can you hear me?
I am the
Check, check.
best.
Okay, well, welcome to the Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024 Pembroke School Committee meeting. Calling this meeting to order at 6:06. And at this time, we have a special treat. We have PAC 105 here with us. Why don't you guys come on up? They're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I believe that you can come all the way back so that you're, there you go.
We promise not to bite.
And then we have Gianna's going to start us off, right?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Outstanding.
Great job, guys. Thank you so much. And welcome, everyone. If you would like to speak at the meeting today, you should sign in on that sheet right up there. And speaking of that, is there any public comment today? Anybody want to?
Quick question before they leave. Did they want to take a picture? Or
Did anybody want to take it? Did you guys want to get a picture or anything?
I think she took it while they were, she
All
took
right.
it while they were doing the
All right,
picture.
all right.
we're good.
We're
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue.
All right, so communications, no communications? Adjustments to the agenda?
Nope.
All right. Approval of bill schedule, the warrants are being circulated. Consideration for approval, the school committee meeting minutes of April 1st, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
I had a couple edits.
Yep, so
Okay.
Natalie is gonna fix the edits. There's a couple places where David is listed as voting, but David was not here that day. So
Okay.
We know he would have voted for it, but.
Yeah.
So it's, you just want to
As
approve them as
amended,
amended, yes.
All right, so a motion to approve the school committee meeting minutes as amended as of April 1st.
So moved. Second.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye, the ayes have it. Good. Move this aside. All right, so superintendent's report.
So the first thing in my report is the FY25 fee discussion. I know we had originally talked about maybe having this when we met on April 1st, but I think that meeting was enough just to go over the budget, so we pushed it to tonight. But Budget Subcommittee did meet a few weeks back to go over our current fees, what direction we'd be looking to going in and making some potential recommendations in a few of the areas. So there are a handful of things that we do charge a fee for here in Pembroke Public Schools. The first thing is transportation. So you have in your packet and on the screen up there an overview of kind of where we are at with our transportation fee in relation to some surrounding communities. Down the bottom of the slide is some different scenarios if we were to do various things with the transportation fee. In the appendix of the slides that were in your packet, there's also a history of when the last time we raised the fee was. And we did raise the transportation fee last year, $30. So it went from $225 to $255. And then it went, yeah, it's in there.
The back.
Yeah, it's also here.
Oh, it's also there.
So we went from $225 to $255 last year and $325 to $355 for the family cap. When we discussed this at Budget Subcommittee, we did talk about it quite a bit. I know that Patrick is not here yet. He'll be here in a few minutes, but I'll just remind you that his fee is this. But he believes this is a tax based on your address, because you could pay a fee and your neighbor could not pay a fee when you're looking at the elementary bus fee. So I know if you're just looking at the slide quickly, you're like, oh, $40,000, let's just reinstate that fee. There's a lot of sentiment behind that fee, and when it was taken away, I think it's been about 12 years now since we took away the elementary fee. So at this point, Budget Sub was not recommending any increase to the transportation fee, just given the fact that we had increased it pretty significantly last year.
All right.
Do you guys want to go one at a time, or do you want to?
Yeah, what do you think? Each one is sort of a discussion, so maybe it makes sense to go one at a time?
I remember doing this last year, and we kind of raised the fee, the individual fee, to be somewhere in the range of Abington, because I think we kind of felt that out of all the towns there, they're probably the most similar to ours. I would be comfortable raising it again, but I don't know if I would really push hard for it. I think we wanted to keep it cheap if we could. I'd like to hear from everyone else.
Yeah. Allison?
What, if we're gonna do these individually, I mean, were any of these to try to solve the budget, or these, so?
Right,
Because
so remember, we have about a $38,000 budget gap. Again, in a $39 million budget, it is well within reason to go into next year with that deficit still there. You know, that's the difference of buying 2 less pallets of copy paper over the course of the school year, right? So not worried about that. There's not any one individual fee that's going to solve the budget deficit, but we have always talked about chipping away at it if we can, and when it makes sense. But keeping in mind that the bulk of the fees that we charge are at the secondary level, so it's the same group of families pretty much over and over again that you're charging, whether it's for athletics, transportation, a parking fee, co-curricular, it's all really secondary in nature.
Yeah.
So none of this is, as far as the overall budget, this is the way to solve it currently? Like, this would be the method of raising these fees and chipping it away?
Raising fees would, any increase that you make to fees would come off of the 38,000 that we're still short.
Okay, but you would be comfortable?
Absolutely.
Okay. And a question I have, it seems that our family cap is fairly low compared to a lot of, was that intentional? Like, how did that
It has
historically
always been just $100 more than the individual, but again, there was a time when that was twice the individual, right? Because the individual fee started, I think, at 110 when we first started doing this. There is a pretty good number of families that have multiple secondary kids that are taking advantage of that family cap.
Yep, I'm one of them. Okay, I mean, I don't think this is the time to raise fees again, so I'd be comfortable if, you know, the superintendent is comfortable moving into the budget without having to do this. I don't think it's big enough.
Sure.
I think it'd be, for transportation, I just don't see it being needed.
In all honesty, I think that people are just getting nickel, dime whacked. I just saw the price of gas went up 27 cents in the last month. I'd be opposed to literally raising any fee right now, give people, it sounds weird to say a year to recover, maybe next year's a different thing. As Erin said, $38,000 and the size of our budget isn't real hard to come up with $38,000. That could trickle in, that could be, who knows. So I would like to keep everything as is. You know, there's nothing I can see moving. I could make a case for any of it, but I think I can make a bigger case for, let's give people a break. You know, I think it'd be nice for someone to sit there and say, wow, they didn't raise a fee, wow, they didn't, you know, an extra this for parking, extra this for sports and whatever. But we do know that at some point they will rise. But if we can take a year off, this is not the year that we have to settle for a big number. So I will like to say, let's leave it alone, please.
So I totally agree with you. I feel like if we had, you know, if we're talking about $100,000 that we had to solve for and every little dime counted, then maybe we'd look at it again. But where we just went up last year on some of these fees, I kind of, like you, I just don't think it's fair to families. And I just don't think we should go up at all in any of the fees. But, I mean,
We're gonna go through them all one at a
we're
time.
gonna go through them all
Yep.
anyways, but like, I'm with you on that. I don't think it's the right time to do that.
And I
so.
could see, like, at some point in the future, maybe raising with the family cap. I don't know how much that would potentially on its own, like, not necessarily the individual, but the family cap was at some point, but not.
Yeah.
I think raising it every year is.
Keep one for Patrick.
Oh, yes. It's gonna be too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Maybe not I don't know if I would want to go up too much on the family cap because, again, it's expensive enough for one kid, but when you have a family, it's, you know, so much more expensive. So I don't know if I'd even want to do that, but we can discuss that in the future year. So.
So the next fee is athletics. Again, similar setup, kind of where we are in relation to neighboring communities, a couple of scenarios on if we were to do things, what they would generate, and then that last spreadsheet has a kind of overview. We also went up last year in the athletic user fee. We went up $50 from $225 to $275 for the individual, and from $385 to $435 for the family cap. One of the things that I do think is worth talking about, even though I obviously hear your sentiments about not wanting to raise fees, is that You heard it during the athletics presentation. You've heard it a couple of times over the course of this year. The price to run hockey at Pembroke High School is significantly increased this year with the change in ownership of the Habermuck Ice Arena. So right now, for students that are playing hockey, there's a $50 premium to play that sport. When we discussed this at Budget Sub, we talked about either going to $100 or $150 for hockey. If you don't remember, the rental for Habermuck Arena for boys and girls ice hockey is just about $70,000 for ice time, and that's more than, I think it's almost 40% of the entire athletics budget. So, again, those increases are not going to solve your budget gap, but I do think if we can chip away a little bit at that huge increase, that would be helpful. That's, I think, the only recommendation that I would necessarily be making.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be okay increasing the hockey fee to what would it be, it's 50 right now, and you'll talk about either going to 100 or 150?
Yeah, there's two scenarios there. If you raise it to 100, it generates $2,900. Obviously, if you raise it to 150, it generates $5,800.
I just don't see it raising enough money that it makes a difference, I guess. If we're gonna say we bump it up to, even if we were to bump it up to 150, that's gonna be a little bit of a strain on the parents to raise $5,000.
I do think families that have
$5,800.
athletes that play hockey are accustomed to paying more. You can see that in other communities, hockey is a premium
Mhm.
across the board. It's not something unique that we're doing here. Again, it's really a gesture. It doesn't solve for a budget deficit, but I think it recognizes that the costs associated with that in particular have grown faster than any portion of our budget has grown.
But the family cap wouldn't change.
So the premium fee doesn't figure into the family cap. That's the wording on it in the
So
handbook.
if you have two hockey players, you hit the family cap plus.
Yes,
whatever
plus the
addition-
premium piece,
Okay.
yeah.
Aaron, what was the price for the hockey rink ice time? You said it's 70,000 now, what was it
It was
prior?
like 42.
Oh.
And that was a combination of Habermuck, the Bog. Obviously, we have our girls also now as the Habermuck as their home ice, which was something that we worked really hard at getting for the past 5 years or so. It took us a while, but.
So if we increased it by like $50 with 100 for a family cap, or something like that, like just for the how much do you want to raise it? How much
$1 million. I would recommend just going for the $100. It only generates $3,000, but I think you're making the point that the cost associated with that sport in particular is so much greater than the others.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I could go along with Aaron. When you look at it too, our family cap is significantly lower than most of the other towns.
Right, well, we talked about a budget sub, we did talk about that quite a bit. It was, potentially increasing the family cap to $550 so that it is the equivalent of, 2 individuals. I think that was just probably a similar conversation that we're approaching with transportation as well. That's definitely a place that you could look at in the future, whether or not you have the appetite to do it this year or not.
Yeah.
So right now, our premium sports is hockey and football.
And they're $50, yep.
So would we be doing it for both then?
Just hockey,
Just
not
hockey.
football. Yeah, football became
So football would stay
at $50, right? So the piece with football that's expensive is the reconditioning of the equipment, and that happens on a 5-year cycle. So we have been, now that our football numbers are increasing, there was a time that the squad was pretty small. That fee ended up being pretty great per student athlete. Now the football team is pretty significantly larger than it was 5 years ago. We don't have that much of a deficit when we're looking at the reconditioning. It's really the hockey ice time. And as Brian said in his presentation, that group owns all of the rinks around here. So it's not even like we could shop around and get a better price somewhere else.
Yeah.
That management group is in charge of all of them.
And students who, they're able to come to the athletic department to get like a waiver.
Yep,
if
absolutely.
needed to
Yep.
request it.
Mm-hmm. And all of that information is shared during all of the sports registration nights and with all of the registration materials.
Any idea how many waivers we grant?
There's not that many. I think there's probably maybe less than a dozen each season. It's not a ton, and we don't ask for any proof of anything, it's just really writing a hardship letter. We're not looking for income verification or anything like that, so. Unlike if you're looking for a transportation fee waiver, there's forms and documentation you have to provide.
So let me ask, hockey, off the top of your head, how many people apply for a waiver there?
Two, between
Two.
boys and girls hockey, there's two
Two.
families that have applied for a fee waiver.
So the individual would stay the same, family cap would stay the same, except hockey would go
The
from.
premium fee for hockey would go from 50 to 100.
So it only go up $50. All right.
Can I ask, do we have any hockey parents out there? Is anyone a hockey parent? I'm
No,
just-
they're smart, I'm just kidding.
No, I'd love to hear a little feedback if a hockey parent says, why pick on us? Or, hey, we're cool with it. I'd feel a little better. But if someone says, that $50 you're picking on us, I'd rather spread the pain out and charge everybody $10 and, one group of parents 50 or 100. It's just, but we have no hockey parents here.
I do think, I come from a big hockey family, and I do agree that, it is it's a more costly sport.
Yeah.
So you're paying for all the equipment and the ice and the upkeep of the skates and so forth. So I think that's probably an expected expense. So if we're only going up $50 to $100 a player, well, let's just do this. Is there a motion to increase the ice hockey to $100 extra per athlete? $50 extra per athlete, I should have said. So it's $100 per athlete. So there's no motion, so looks like we're not going to raise the fee.
Next is facilities usage. This is what the fees are to rent space in our buildings. As I've said ad nauseum in the past, there's very little rental happening for our facilities because we're using them a lot of the time, right? The big money getters are the gym, the turf field, but our teams are using them, whether it's our high school teams or our youth teams are using them pretty much all of the time. So we do not generate a ton of revenue here. The only thing that changes year to year is the fee for the custodial overtime. It's a function of their hourly wage. So we are not recommending any increases in this category. Or budgets of isn't. Any questions about facilities? Co-curricular, this is a newer fee for us. It was instituted in FY '23, so just 2 years ago. Again, this was just a gesture to offset some of the costs associated with running the list of co-curricular and extracurricular activities that we offer at Pembroke High School. There wasn't an appetite at Budget Sub to increase this.
Do we have any questions about this? Allison?
Nope.
Mike?
No, I don't think so.
Dave?
This is probably more at the high school level. Mark, did we get a lot of pushback on this, or did parents kind of take it in stride, parents and students?
The first year, which I think was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a lot. There was some pushback. The small amount was pretty vocal, and I think part of it was they were just kind of caught off guard by it, right?
Yeah.
But
Right,
like
you'll remember we had a group of students come to the school committee meeting to talk about
Right.
potentially having some clubs, us not charge for specific clubs, because they didn't want students to have to ask their parents for the $25 and put them in a precarious place depending upon what the nature of the club was. So they did come, and you all amended what you had voted in the May before to have a handful of clubs be no charge.
So that's died down entirely. There's been no pushback since that.
All right, so,
Once we got the information out there kind of in a better way, and we had that open meeting with them,
Yeah.
folks kind of walked away understanding better.
that's what we leave it as is, at least.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
All right.
Another popular fee at the high school, the parking fee. So again, this was also created 2 years ago, the same time as the co-curricular. You'll remember in FY '23, we were solving for a pretty big budget gap at the time, and we were looking anywhere and everywhere for funds. I wouldn't recommend increasing the parking fee at Pembroke High School.
Any questions?
No.
Are we here? No? All right.
I think what we've talked about kind of bigger picture is that eventually I would see us getting to an overall student fee at Pembroke High School that includes parking, co-curricular, athletics, that kind of stuff, technology when we get to that point, so.
Makes sense.
That is on the horizon. Our preschool fee, there's a couple of different preschool options here in Pembroke, so there's a 5-day program, full 5 days, Monday through Friday, that's $5,500. There's a four-day half-day program, so that's our integrated preschool, the traditional integrated preschool program. That's a 4-day half-day program for $2,200. The function of this is a mistake. So what we're charging is the bottom right now, $5,750, $2,300. Chapter 70 gives you an allotment for students. A half-day kindergarten student is worth $4,600. The fees that we're charging for preschool align with exactly what the Chapter 70 formula would dictate for a preschool student. I wouldn't recommend increasing the fee at all.
All right. Any questions?
No.
All right. That was quick. All right, so,
The next item under my report is just continued discussion of the FY25 budget. So we had a pretty lengthy meeting last time on April 1st with advisory and with the select board. The handout that we just passed out to you is the budget spreadsheet that was shared during that meeting. I'm not sure if folks have new questions that have come up since then. I haven't gotten anything from the group. I know a couple of you all have reached out to me individually just for some clarification on a few things. But my thought process is if there isn't new questions or something else that you guys want to kind of dive deeper in, I would recommend that you guys move forward your budget number for fiscal year 25. What that does is allows you to schedule your public budget hearing.
okay,
So the number that you would be moving forward is the town manager number, understanding that where we're at right now versus that number is we're in a deficit of $39,698, but you'd be moving forward that town manager number of $38,580,000.
are there any questions about that?
Yeah, a couple. Have we ever done that before?
Absolutely. So last year, the past 5 years, we've gone into the next fiscal year, still with a little bit of a deficit, trying to work through it.
Okay, and I know that we've talked about this, but just for the public, the possible change of the Chapter 70 funds that was announced
Yep,
not long
so
ago.
currently, our budget is based off $30 a student, which was the governor's budget. What is in the budget right now, though that budget has not made its way all the way through all the processes yet, is $104 a student. Obviously, that would be a significant increase for us. We've had the conversations with the town manager about those funds coming to us once the budget is certified in October at fall town meeting.
So if they pay $104 per student, it was going to be roughly 100-something thousand?
Yeah, so we'd
As
get
opposed to
100
the 70,000
yeah,
that we would've got?
We're getting the 70,000. We would get an additional 160,000.
Oh, okay. It'd be in addition to the 70?
Yep.
I realistically don't see us getting 130. I'm saying from the state, they're in such deep hot water right now, I just.
Yeah, and 104 is such a weird number.
Yeah.
It's not 60, it's
I know.
not 90, it's not 100, it's 104.
Yeah.
But what it does signal is that it's probably going to move up from the 30, which is great.
Right.
Obviously, I have worked with Bill. He's committed to the funds coming back to the school. How that works, because Chapter 70 isn't certified until July, sometimes August, is that we would move forward with our budget, and then they would vote the addition at the fall town meeting, just like what happened this year. So those funds would be available to us in mid-October.
All right. Well, are there any other questions? So we should vote then is there a motion to move forward, let's see, the budget number of $38,580,000?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. So we're moving forward.
What was our budget last year? Wasn't it a little higher?
36,600.
37.
37,600,
Okay.
yeah.
We were looking at like 39.5. when we-
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Can we go to Warren?
What's that?
Can we go have?
Yes, so
So we added a new thing to
Yes,
our
we did.
subcommittee liaison updates. We
Yeah.
thought it would be great if Lauren told us about all of the amazing things that are happening at Pembroke High School, and you can tell from her face she's super excited to share with us.
But tennis won today, that's all that matters. There we go.
Right. So there's a lot going on at PHS, especially in the spring. Like I know all the juniors are getting ready to apply to college in the fall, which is absolutely crazy. And the seniors are getting ready to leave and go to college. But in April, at the moment, we just had a trip to Quebec where French students and French club students went to Quebec during April 4th to 8th. 13 total students from PHS and PCMS were able to go. They were able to explore Quebec, learn about French culture, and practice their French reading, listening, and speaking skills. And they were also able to fundraise to help lower the cost through selling Hiller's chocolates.
Excellent.
It's my favorite fundraiser.
I'm pretty sure my daughter bought a whole box.
I've literally bought an entire box for myself. It's like, they're so good. Also, we have another trip coming up. In 2025, PHS will be heading to Europe, more specifically Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. 6 students have attended the informational meetings, but no one has committed yet. There needs to be a minimum of 10 students for the trip to be viable, so they're going to have some more promotion nights and additional sign-up meetings before school gets out. So hopefully this trip can happen over next year.
Excellent.
The music department has spring concerts this week, actually, too. Tomorrow, Wednesday, there is a chorus concert at PHS, and Thursday, there's an instrumental concert, which I know the music department has been practicing for. I always see all the instruments lined up in the auditorium. And both are start at 6:30 and are free of charge for anyone to enter. Spring sports. 289 students, which is 41% of the student body, are competing this spring. Girls tennis is 4-0 with another win today.
Good
Including
job.
Duxbury, that was amazing.
Yes, that was insane. Baseball has a new coach, Kevin Plante, and their record is 3-3 right now. Softball is 3-2, also with a new coach, Brittany Nunes. Girls lacrosse is 3-4 with a new coach too, Abby Monahan. Boys lacrosse is 4-2. Boys track and field is 2-0. Girls track and field is 1-0, and boys tennis is 1-2. So,
Excellent.
doing good. Girls
Titans are
tennis.
It's amazing that we've played any outdoor sports with all the rain we've
I
had.
know.
Yeah, 3 of our games got canceled. It was insane. In May, we have a couple things up and coming. PHS will be hosting a parent university, which is like a step-up night for 8th grade parents, but it is going to be hosted May 2nd from 6:30 to 8:30. This night is intended to let parents know everything there is to know about PHS, absent policies, what to do if their student is going to be in, what kind of courses they'll be able to take, learn about pathways in each department. And then parents will have the opportunity to talk to each department and ask questions, whether they have it on a subject or what if they're going on vacation, anything like that. Yeah, this one is EP exams. That's coming up very soon. We have 216 students taking exams, which is 31% of the student body.
That's great.
Yeah, and mostly it's juniors and seniors who are eligible. There's only, I think, 2 that sophomores can take AP classes. Yeah, only 2 that they can take, and typically it's if they are up a level in math, or if they're taking computer science principles with me, of course. Out of the 216 students taking exams, 409 exams will be taken in those 2 weeks. So many students are taking multiple exams, which is very rough.
How many are you taking?
3.
All right.
Definitely need to start studying a lot more. It's gonna be rough. But also, our junior-senior prom is coming up on Saturday, May 18th. The promenade is supposed to begin at 5 p.m. The Cost of tickets is $75 after the student council, junior student council, sent out a poll asking the grade whether they would like to take coach buses and have the tickets be $125 or take school buses and be $75. And the poll was very close. I'm pretty sure it was 55 to 45, but overall people decided to take the school buses and have the tickets be 75.
Save their money. I
Yeah.
get it. College is coming up.
Yeah. And it's going to be hosted at the Quincy Marriott from 7 to 11 p.m. There's a lot of senior news. So seniors get out earlier than all the other grades. So their last day of in-person classes will be Friday, May 17th, while their exam week is May 20th to May 23rd. Senior week is May 28th to June 1st. Senior dinner is May 28th. Baccalaureate is May 29th. Senior awards night, May 30th. And graduation is June 1st. Yeah, senior internships are full in swing as they occur in term 4. We have 3 separate internship programs running in the spring for 36 seniors. We have the PHS senior project with 16 students. We have the Pathways interns with 10 students. And we have the high school educational internship program with 16 students attending, all seniors. And in June, not as much going on in June. Just graduation, you know, it's nothing much.
That's it.
Graduation is June 1st at 10 a.m. Underclassmen Awards Night is June 6th at 6:30 p.m. And this is for underclassmen who have shown excellence in a particular subject and they're going to be awarded for it. And last day of classes is June 11th and exam week is June 12th to 17th. But luckily, AP classes do not need to take final exams. Their AP test is like their final.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's what we have coming up for the rest of the school year.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Of course.
You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll go back to the subcommittee liaison updates, and we'll start with the discussion and potential vote regarding recording subcommittee meetings. So I know, we'll just start off and see if there's any discussion, and I'll start with Allison.
Sure. I was the one that, I guess, asked to have this put on the agenda, so I think there's a couple reasons. One of them being it would provide the ability for minutes to be more easily made and available for people. It also allows people at home to be able to request and listen to them if needed. I think we have had a number of meetings that would have been beneficial to have had recorded. So I just think it's a good standard practice moving forward for multiple reasons to have them recorded.
Sure. Any questions? Mike?
I agree. I don't see why they're not. They're public meetings, people can come anyways, so why not record them?
Okay. David?
Yeah, I'm actually in favor of it. I think transparency is the way to go. I mean, that way no one can say, oh, it was done behind closed doors, he said this or she said that. It's there. I was told, if you get into, whether it's, the select board or here, you put yourself out there. If you're going to put your opinion out there, there's nothing worse than, oh, I was misunderstood.
Yeah.
You're going to say it, you're going to do it, it's there. Think before you speak, know what you're saying, but, stand behind your words. It's not always the popular thing. We've gone down that path a few times, but, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, transparency is obviously very important, so with that, is there a motion to begin to start recording subcommittee meetings?
So moved.
Yep.
Is there-
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. And on to
Okay.
policy subcommittee.
In your packet, you have policy section J, students, for a first read. As I've done in the past, the top page is an overview of what is in our current policy manual, what the suggested action of policy sub was for that particular policy, and then at the end, I added any new policies that policy sub was looking to add to that section. Again, this is a first read. When you're going through it, under JC residency and school admission, in the policy manual, we will be adding a map of what the elementary school neighborhoods are. It's not in your packet to review. The map is on the website. I just couldn't figure out how to get it. where I needed it to be, but it will be in the manual once we get to that point. So again, first read, it's your opportunity. If you have a question already, happy to try and answer it. But just to get it on your radar, and it'll come back as a second read at an upcoming meeting.
Start with Mike.
Yeah, under the harassment of students, when I read this, I didn't see, I don't know if there was different wording, but
What
with this.
policy number was it?
Oh, sorry,
Letter?
JICK.
JICK.
Anti-bullying,
JICE.
or CK.
JICK.
It's in-
I was just wondering if this would include.
So it's JBA, student-to-student harassment, which is
Oh.
rescinded and replaced with JICK.
Okay.
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
sorry,
That's okay.
harassment of students.
Got it.
Would this include actions that take place, oh, wait, you know what, on the bus?
Yep, so the
Oh,
bus is
all right, yep,
considered an
you know what,
extension of
as
the
I
school
asked it,
day.
I just
Yep.
saw it listed there.
Yep.
I missed that when I read this too over the weekend. I think that was really the only question I had for that.
All right. David,
No, I was good with it, thank you.
you good with it, Allison?
So I'm trying to find, there was a policy that you didn't include when we were talking. It's like, I forgot my laptop. That I think we need to include in a policy sub to look into, because it was about reporting. Because when we originally discussed the J section, it was one on the ASC. We didn't include it, and I think it needs to be discussed.
Did we already discuss it, or?
Yeah, we just
So
in
here's the
that
list.
it came up in the January meeting that it might be something worth looking at. We were going to discuss it in the policy sub that we couldn't come to a date on.
Okay. But we talked about it in the January meeting?
And we just, yeah, sorry, I meant to have my computer so I could pull it up.
So it's JII, student complaints and grievances, but what we discussed in the January meeting was that where a student or family reports a concern would fall under IMB and not JII.
Oh, right.
So when we talked about Section J back in August, so like a lifetime ago,
Yes.
we didn't include it. Obviously, some things have changed since we met in August and discussed Section I and Section J. But in the meeting in January, I remember us talking about those two being potential places where that language would fit. But when you look at the content in JII, it's not that. It doesn't fit with that. It fits more with the Section I, which is instruction related. For students, they don't footnote each other necessarily. We could add a footnote, but.
I think it's one for future
Sure.
potential double checking on, I guess. What was it called again?
JII, student complaints and grievances. And Mark can attest to the fact that we do hear student complaints and grievances all the time.
Not as often as you
I'm
would
kidding.
think.
So we should look at that for the second read, right? Or do we need to go back to sub?
I think it would have to go back to policy sub, but again, Elson, you might want to take a look at the content in JII.
Yeah, because I think that was the idea.
Yeah,
We
I
were
don't
gonna-
think it fits
We were
in
going to
there.
look into discussing it
Mhm.
at a
Okay.
policy sub, not that it needs to be included,
Okay.
because at the time, we didn't. But with a fresh set of eyes after that meeting, I think that's was the idea.
So again, it's just a first read for Section J. You can ask as many questions as you want as we go into the next meeting for a second read and potential approval.
Are there any other questions about policy J? Patrick, I know you just got here, but did you get a chance to look at it beforehand, or?
Yeah, I've looked through all of them.
Yeah, it's just a first read.
Where are you?
We're
What?
on J.
Policy
J.
Section J. For a first read for student.
Before we close it out.
No, that's okay. I guess the only question is, you guys went through all of these already?
Yeah, we did, we were in the J series in about mid-August.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, then no questions.
All right. So is there a motion to accept policy J as a first read?
So moved.
Second.
Set.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it.
So the last thing under the policy subcommittee is policy section I for a second read and approval. You'll remember we talked a little bit about these at the March 19th meeting when you took them as a first read. As I pointed out that evening, and I pointed out again when I sent it to you in your packet, policy IMB is the policy that we identified where we would include the language regarding how a student or family would report a concern. That is in IMB. That did not go to policy subcommittee, as I said on March 19th. That is an edit that I made based off of the conversations that were had in January. The second policy in that section that I highlighted for you is IJLA-R. I don't know who comes up with these names, which is a reconsideration of library materials. Our current policy is IJR, but there's a recode to IJLAR. And we had some conversation regarding if an item was being challenged by a member of the community, whether it would stay on the shelf while that challenge was happening or whether it was not. Those of you that have been on the committee for a while will remember we did have this conversation in October of 2022. No edits were made to the policy at that time. The minutes, as Sue can attest to, are a little bit funky from that meeting. There's also the recording, if you have time to go back to it, but the addition of the word remove did not go through policy sub either. So IMB and IJLA-R include revisions that were not reviewed by policy sub. They were just brought to this committee.
All right, so,
So I would like to table section I and send the whole thing back to the policy subcommittee, because I feel like the edits, I think it kind of goes back to a little bit of the policy BGB, where policies have to be discussed in policy sub. So I think that's where it needs to go back. I think it's
do you
just
feel
easier.
that we need to make revisions to what Erin has already put here in I?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Mike?
So this hasn't been discussed in policy sub?
Most of it.
All of it except IJLA-R, including the word remove, and IMB, the inclusion of how to report a concern. That was not discussed when we met in August to do section I. That has happened since then. I would recommend that you pull those two out and kick those two back into policy sub unless there's something else in section I, Allison, that you think.
Well, so, like, I mean, we could do that too, but like the edit for youngsters is still there, so like some of the things that we did and. Like,
Right, but that's an edit that you all made as a first read. It'll pick up when I post the manual.
okay, so the changes that we make in the first read don't get reflected.
No.
Okay. And David, do you have any questions?
No, if we have some concerns, I tell you, let's get it right. Let's, we have to kick it back, either in full or in part, whatever it is to get it right. Let's do it the right way.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, and it goes to consistency, right? We talked about this a couple months ago. We have these policies in place for a purpose and a reason, and the last thing we want to do is start making exceptions on the fly, right? So I happen to agree with what's in both policies, quite honestly, right? But we need to make them according to our policy, right? So if changing that one word actually substantially changes the content in the policy itself and what the policy says, I'm in support of it. But I think those things need to be discussed in policy sub before they come here. Otherwise, we're setting a precedent that I don't think is a good thing for us to be doing. I'm okay with it just being those two.
I'm okay pulling those two as well.
Okay.
I do have a question on totally different policies, though. If that's okay.
In
I,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
So I know you said the homework was part of the
Handbook. Yep.
part of the handbook. Conferences too.
Yep.
Okay, I think it's important that, like, the conferences are so important.
Yeah, so
right?
the rescinding IKAC conferences doesn't mean we're not having conferences. It just means that it's outlined in the handbook and on the calendar, on your district calendar. It's
But the
not-
policy is a requirement that it gets done the handbook can be changed
The handbook
annually
is a
when we-
policy.
Fair
It
enough.
comes to
That's
you
fair
as a
enough.
first read.
Fair enough. I can agree with that.
Okay, any other questions about policy I? All right, so is there a motion to move this forward as a second read except for IJR and IMB?
So moved.
Can I amend it, though?
Sure.
And include exactly what you said, Sue, but I think we as a committee need to bounce back IJR and IMB to policy sub.
Right.
As part of the
perfect.
motion.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
what we're doing,
Perfect,
Yeah.
yep. And is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it.
So just to your point, Allison, so there's a list of words that I keep, so youngster, caregiver. So then when the policy manual is complete, we go through and make sure that those are
'Cause
subbed out each time.
And that,
Sue and Ginny used to have this long
the
list. They didn't
part-
like the word district. They didn't.
well, the part
Remember.
that this wasn't included as a first read at
Right.
all, so then that's why I'm confused on how this ended up
Gotcha.
as a red line, but then this didn't.
I gotcha.
That's where
Yep.
I was confused on
Yep.
the first read, second read edits.
All right, so, future meeting dates and topics. So, we don't have anything on the books now, but we definitely want to have,
So you'll have to have your public budget hearing and your public hearing on school choice. That would be, you could either have it on the 23rd, or the 30th of April, or May 7th.
I would prefer the 30th if possible.
does anybody have any feeling one way or the other?
I'd prefer April 30th.
All right, well, April, unless,
Nope, good to go.
is there any conflicts? All right, April 30th it is.
Obviously, we'll do other stuff. We have the school calendar for our first read. We have a couple of other things, but those are two statutory things that need to happen.
Okay.
Then for May, you guys are meeting on May 14th prior to town meeting. I don't know if you want to try to schedule your second May meeting, but
What about school choice?
we're going to do that on the 30th.
Oh,
You
I
were
was looking
listening.
at the
You were
calendar,
listening.
trying to get
Yeah,
there, I'm
it's
sorry.
So,
Like-
does it make sense to have after the election, have a reorg meeting before graduation?
I do need someone to sign the diplomas.
Yeah,
Mark's probably
we-
having a heart attack over there.
So we should have a meeting scheduled for if we can, the Tuesday after the election. We should,
Yep, so May 21st.
yes.
So your meetings in May would be May 14th and May 21st.
Yep,
Got it.
okay. And with that, is there a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy related to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the legal position of the school committee as declared by the chair?
So, second.
All right. Roll call?
Yep.
So, Mike?
Aye?
David?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. Thank you, everybody.
Lauren, looks like you have plenty of time to study tonight.